Hare Krishna. I am Damayanti Devi Dasi, and I am going to give a Bhagavad Gita class from a verse, based on a verse in Bhagavad Gita as it is, written by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So, I'm here with Devin, who is listening in, and here we go. By the way, I'm a weirdo, and that is how I give classes. Okay. Never mind about that. I'm going to say the invocation prayer so that to invoke auspiciousness and that I may speak in a way that's aligned with our spiritual teachers, with Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I'm going to read from chapter 6, text 17. So here's the Sanskrit. Yuktahara viharasya yukta cheshtasya karmasu yukta svabhava yukta svabnavabodhasya yogo bhavati dukhaha. This is what each of those words mean. Yukta, regulated. Ahara, eating. Viharasya, recreation. Yukta, regulated. Cheshtasya, of one who works for maintenance. Karmasu, in discharging duties. Yukta, regulated. Svapna avabodhasya, regulated, sleep and wakefulness. Yoga, practice of yoga. Bhavati, becomes. Dukkha, diminishing pains. And so the translation of the verse is, he who is temperate in habits of eating, sleeping, working, and recreation can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. And here's a purport by Srila Prabhupada. Extravagance in the matter of eating, sleeping, defending, and mating, which are demands of the body, can block advancement in the practice of yoga. As far as eating is concerned, it can be regulated only when one is practiced to take and accept prasadam, sanctified food. Lord Krishna is offered, according to the Bhagavad-Gita 9.26, vegetables, flowers, fruits, grains, milk, etc. In this way, a person in Krishna consciousness becomes automatically trained not to accept food not meant for human consumption, or which is not in the category of goodness. As far as sleeping is concerned, a Krishna conscious person is always alert in the discharge of his duties in Krishna consciousness, and therefore any unnecessary time spent sleeping is considered a great loss. A Krishna conscious person cannot bear to pass a minute of his life without being engaged in the service of the Lord. Therefore, his sleeping is kept to a minimum. His ideal in this respect is Srila Rupa Goswami, who was always engaged in the service of Krishna and who could not sleep more than 2 hours a day, and sometimes not even that. Thakur Haridas would not even accept prasadam nor even sleep for a moment without finishing his daily routine of chanting with his beads 300,000 names. As far as work is concerned, a Krishna conscious person does not do anything which is not connected with Krishna's interest, and thus his work is always regulated and is untainted by sense gratification. Since there is no question of sense gratification, there is no material leisure for a person in Krishna consciousness, and because he is regulated in all his work, speech, sleep, wakefulness, and all other bodily activities, There is no material misery for him. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshru Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shmati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Sarasvati Devi Gauravani Prachavini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtata Desha Tanine. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I will share some thoughts about this verse and the purport and where I'm coming from today. I announced this class. I had a little name. I called it in the Facebook group. I made it a little announcement, and it was a Kali Yuga Yogi. I don't know how to become a yogi of any sort in Kali Yuga, which is this age of degradation, hypocrisy, quarreling. It's not in a very enlightened time that we're in. There's, so many distractions. In many ways, humanity has lost its way. There's not a lot of piety or simplicity. And how do we cultivate yogic habits? How do we cultivate the mode of goodness and do it in a way that's God conscious? Right in the middle of the state that we're in, the conditioning that we have, the conditioning that's all around, the society that's all around, the distractions. And generally people don't even know the purpose of life, and we're raised without even realizing what is the purpose of the human form of life. Why are we here? Where did we come from? Where are we going? So there's a lot of ignorance to spiritual reality and spiritual truth and what God wants for us, what Krishna wants. Krishna is another name for God. It's a Sanskrit name for God. And what would be aligned with our spirit? And how do we get to that state where we can hear what God would, how he would answer our prayers, or how he would like us, how the guidance that Krishna is sending to us, whether it's from our hearts, from an internal knowing, or if he's sending messages through the circumstances of our lives, or even just to follow the scriptures that are provided by the representatives of God, bona fide representatives of God. They've communicated to humanity in different times and places. And how can we receive their messages fully and then implement them in our lives? And there's an emphasis, especially in this chapter in the Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 6, which is called Sankhya Yoga. I don't know what Sankhya means, and I'm not going to speak about that, or at least I've learned about it, but I forgot. But this whole chapter is about being a yogi and how to, transform our life so that we're doing the essentials, lessening material distractions and increasing spiritual focus, and how to live a life that's simple and spiritual and regulated. So in this verse, Krishna is speaking to Arjuna, and he says, "He who is temperate in his habits of eating, sleeping, working, and recreation can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system." So there's three main areas in this verse. Well, here it says eating, sleeping, working, and recreation. But the working and recreation are related to how you spend your time. So there's eating, a section of the purport about eating that Prabhupada speaks about on sleeping, and then work and recreation, how we spend our time. And, it's like presenting like the highest form of how, it's good to know what's possible for the soul and the human condition. What would be the most elevating diet and eating habits and sleeping habits and consciousness with work, and how we would spend our free time. According to the whole Bhagavad-Gita, a person in their essential pure state couldn't stand the idea of not serving God during that time. So they would want to minimize anything like sleeping or anything that could get in the way of focus on Krishna. So, like in the purport, Srila Rupa Goswami, he couldn't sleep more than 2 hours per day. And Haridas Thakur, he wouldn't eat or even sleep without finishing his daily chanting, which was with his beads, which was I don't know how many rounds it is, but it's 300,000 names. So he spent hours and hours each day. That was his top priority, was his chanting commitment, and he wouldn't even think of eating or sleeping until that was complete. So this purport is highlighting like the highest ultimate like goal and potential for us, which is accessible to us, starting where we're at and keeping, our goal in mind, that we detach from material sense gratification and increase our Krishna consciousness and cultivate a regulated life. And we could get there. We can get to pure devotion. That is the whole goal of Bhagavad Gita and Bhakti Yoga, is total pure devotion. And it is possible for us, and it's, our nature. So this is a big challenge for me. I'm not coming to this class because I figured something out. It's more like, this is what I need to study and talk about and think about. So let me give this more of my attention and create more conversation around becoming a yogi, or trying to be a yogi in the middle of this conditioning. And middle class American woman in her 40s, I'm not coming from a background of practicing any kind of regulation or practice, or I have nothing really before Krishna consciousness that was any kind of practice of any habit cultivation. I had a few things that were in the mode of goodness in my lifestyle, but as far as like a intentional consciousness practice, just trying to be a good person in general. But yeah, that's it. And yeah, like there was just, no regulation with sense gratification, what I did with my free time, eating, sleeping. There's no regulation. I don't feel like I have a yogic background at all. And I don't even have an attraction towards, I do have, what I mean is my conditioning is not very attractive. Like I have some like resistance and repulsion to like all that regulation. And one of the reasons I'm bringing this up in this conversation is because I created a challenge for 28 days, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 now. An additional person may join us. So 4 or 5 additional people, not including me. So that's 5 or 6 people of us. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 6. 5 or 6 people total. We're doing a challenge that started this week. No, or last week. Okay, sorry. A whole entire week ago, over a week ago, week and a half. Anyway, we're challenging ourselves to wake up early, at least 90 minutes before sunrise, I mean, the light's still coming up and it's not total darkness, before that sunrise moment, but yeah, we're challenging ourselves to be awake here in the Alachua area. It's 5 right now. I think it's 5:44 a.m. to be ready to start the chanting practice. It might be 5:45 by now because the sunrise changes every few days. So so it's going really strong. It's going really well for everybody, and I'm just really enlivened. It's like it's just a little challenge. Like, okay, just wake up early enough and do my chanting practice because I have a commitment. I've made a commitment, a lifelong commitment to chant 16 rounds of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra per day. I made a lifelong commitment. And the rounds are, 108 mantras around these beads. So yeah, it takes about 90 minutes to 2 hours. And so I'm doing my best. I'm not like, I am never quite finished all of my rounds during that time. I'm distracted, I'm uncomfortable, I'm resisting, I'm avoiding, like I fell asleep once and I was late once. It's not perfect, but it's like really it's amazing how this one little challenge could change everything. Like, it like is cultivating, it's making me feel like I'm in integrity, and it's making me want to add another positive habit in my life. And like, oh, let me tweak it even better. Like let my chanting be even better. And like, well, let me be a little bit more Krishna conscious, like light some incense and let me, it's just like, it's like life is going in the right direction with this type of thing. It's like, God conscious practice. I'm not easily attracted to it, but for me, gathering people, like let's go together, that works for me, is association. And I think for other people too. And for some people, adding some sort of spiritual practice, or habit cultivation, like they have a lot of like inner reserves or internal motivation or strength in self-discipline in general. And like some people don't. So, whatever works. So this challenge is, I think it's totally spiritual to just be like, let's go together, let's get stronger together. And so I thought, okay, let me keep studying this topic of, because I was thinking about sleeping, like, wake up, let me go to sleep earlier so it's more comfortable to wake up earlier so that I'm not so sleepy during that challenge. So that's kind of where it's coming from. And I found this verse and it includes discussion about other topics. That's good. So I did find a couple other quotes. Okay, I'll share this one. This is a letter that Prabhupada wrote in 1972 to Radha Vallabha. And here he says, Japa chanting should be done early in the morning with full concentration, preferably during the Brahma Muhurta time, which is at 90 minutes before sunrise. Continuing with Prabhupada, he says, concentrate fully on the sound vibration of the mantra, pronouncing each name distinctly and gradually. Your speed in chanting will increase naturally. Do not worry so much about chanting fast. Most important is the hearing. A devotee should always be grave and silent, which means that he only discusses topics relating to Krishna consciousness. Yes, spend your time chanting and reading and taking Krishna prasadam, and automatically your tongue will come under control. If you sincerely engage 24 hours daily in devotional service, according to the instructions of the spiritual master, chant daily 16 rounds, attend the Arti ceremony of Lord Krishna, associate with the devotees, and adhere strictly to the regulative principles, then Krishna will reveal himself personally to you. I hope this meets you in good health. Your ever well-wisher, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. I just find this really encouraging, like that in the end, like if you can just, kind of break some habits and increase these positive habits, that in the end, like Krishna will reveal himself personally to each of us. And to me, it makes sense. Like we're coming under his wing, he's providing guidance, and we're choosing to associate with Krishna through the Maha Mantra and through creating a lifestyle that aligns with God consciousness. And yeah, Krishna is gonna want to spend time with his his friends that want to spend time with him. So I find it encouraging. Personally, I like the idea of having an intimate, complete, relationship with God. um and I don't know, I have a couple other quotes. Let me read this one. This is from the purport of Bhagavad-Gita chapter 6, verses 20 through 23. This is just a little paragraph in that purport. Prabhupada is saying here, he says, as long as the material body exists, one has to meet the demands of the body, namely eating, sleeping, defending, and mating. But a person who is in pure bhakti yoga or in Krishna consciousness does not arouse the senses while meeting the demands of the body. Rather, he accepts the bare necessities of life, making the best use of a bad bargain, and enjoys transcendental happiness in Krishna consciousness. So yeah, these things that Prabhupada says, I find them to be far out, like, the idea of pure Krishna consciousness feels so far and distant from me. But what else is there than meeting myself where I'm at and going towards something that's beautiful, logical, attractive, such as serving God with all of my heart and with pure devotion. That's the most logical, attractive, resonating goal possible that I've found in my existence. And what else is there but to just be like, okay, let me start where I'm at. Kali Yuga Yogi. That's it. What else is there? So let's do this. Let's do it together. That's how I feel. It helps a lot. Like, I mean, Prabhupada fully supports that we're associating with devotees, and that was even listed in his the last letter that I shared. Associate with the devotees. So yeah, we can be like a great influence. And I don't have any like quotes or like anything memorized from off the top of my head about association, but from my studies and my understanding, I feel confident to say it's a huge factor in one's Krishna consciousness is associating with people who have faith in the instructions of the spiritual master and who have faith in the practice of bhakti yoga being like, leading to the goal of, true total soul alignment with who you are and, uncovering your natural position, your natural state through the practice of bhakti yoga and following instructions. So association with others who have faith and who are practicing and who are like-minded, like these things are going to be, it's like a huge factor. And associating with Prabhupada is always available. There's recordings of him, there's audio, video, and then there's all of his books. And so he's a pure devotee of Krishna, and he's available to associate with at any time. You don't have to wait to get to a program or be in personal proximity with anyone. You can always associate with Prabhupada and Krishna by reading Prabhupada's books. So that's right there for us at any point. I am going to read to you another verse. So I don't know if you know this, Devin, but there's this like song that's sung before eating prasadam. Like the food is already offered to Krishna, it's already been received, and the food has become a prasadam, it's a blessing and it's already blessed. But then there's like this additional prayer that we can say that I don't know this prayer yet, and it's the first word is Sharira Abhijaja Jo Dendriya Tahekal. That's all I'll say for now because I've heard the rhythm, but I don't really know the song. So there's a couple more lines. There's like there's 8 lines. Okay. and I don't know the name of it either, but here is the translation, which I think is really funny and fascinating to like singing this song. The fact that it's a song is just like a contradiction and just funny, and just it's another far out thing that gets to happen when you're in Krishna consciousness. Okay, this material body is a network of ignorance, and the senses are one's deadly enemies, for they throw the soul into the ocean of material sense enjoyment. Among the senses, the tongue is the most voracious and verily wicked. And it is very difficult to conquer the tongue in this world. Oh, brothers, Lord Krishna is very merciful. Just to control the tongue, he has given us the remnants of his own food. Now, please eat these nectarian grains while singing the glories of their lordships, Sri Sri Radha and Krishna, and in love call out Chaitanya Nitai. So I just imagine singing that. It would be fun if we had that memorized. So what do I want to say about that? It's like it's this verse is calling out the tongue as like really, addicted and desiring for gratification. And the tongue can experience gratification not only through eating, but also speaking. And it can either be Krishna conscious eating and speaking or not. And, and it says in this verse that the senses are one's deadly enemies. They throw the soul into the ocean of material sense enjoyment. So yeah, we're really bewildered in this state. And I feel like, thank God for Prabhupada. Thank God for the representatives of the Lord who come and give a lifeline to get us out of the ocean of thinking that we're so happy, gratifying ourselves, not only through the gross senses, tasting, hearing, seeing, smelling, touching, but thinking that we're so wonderful ourselves. Like there's subtle gratifications, adoration, praise and appreciation, and people like, and like even just feeling proud of our accomplishments, and like, oh, we puff ourselves up, and we like it when others are gratifying those subtle senses, and then we're lost, we're completely bewildered, we're completely disjointed from our actual position, which is just like humble, loving, blissful servants of God and whatever God actually wants. And we're just like small little sparks that could like play a small role. And really it's not like God needs or Krishna needs anything from us, but he wants relationship, devotion and love and relationship. And so yeah, we can get very bewildered here. And how do we get out? Maybe some sort of practice, some sort of cultivation of goodness, some association, some Krishna consciousness. So I don't know if there's anything else that I really want to share. I just wanted to share a little bit today. Yeah, so this verse, okay, I'm going to go down to the end of the purport and just sort of get to a summary. So this is the end of the purport of the Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 6, verse 17. As far as work is concerned, a Krishna conscious person does not do anything which is not connected with Krishna's interest, and thus his work is always regulated and untainted by sense gratification. There is no question of sense gratification. There is no material leisure for a person in Krishna consciousness. And because he is regulated in all his work, speech, sleep, wakefulness, and other bodily activities, there is no material misery for him. That sounds peaceful. Yeah, we could be sloshed around in the ocean. Oh, I want this and I want that, and I don't want this and I don't want that. And like, oh, now this is happening. Like we could just be like reacting to life. Oh, now I really want this. And it's the only thing that matters to me. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so obsessed with this new thing that I just realized and I want, and like nothing matters. And then all of a sudden we're like tortured, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have this problem. I just want it to be solved. And then I'll be happy, the material ocean is going to be going up and down with things that we like and things we don't like, happiness, distress, gratification, pain. And are we going to be dictated by that? Or is there like an alternative to just being like sloshed around? That's the best word I can think of. Yeah, like we can take some control. We have agency and power, and we can associate with devotees of God and learn how to kind of crawl out or grab the lifeline and get out of the material miseries by regulating ourselves, by regulating how far we go down those paths of gratification and distress and happiness and all that. Like, we can cultivate some yogic habits, chant Hare Krishna, and do devotional service to Krishna, see what that is like. It's an experiment, but it's worthwhile to see if that's, if there's better results in Krishna consciousness and, or, me consciousness, like, yeah. So who are we putting in the center of our lives? Ourselves, or, if not ourselves, hopefully others, like at least, it's a little bit elevated to at least be in service to others in some way or fashion, and to be in service to humanity, to animals, to the planet. That's a more elevated, but then above that is aligning ourselves with the supreme personality of Godhead, the source, our creator. That's like the ultimate truth, the absolute truth. To be aligned and in service to the absolute truth is the highest satisfaction and bliss of the soul. No one can argue with me about that. Okay, Hare Krishna. So I'll read the verse again. Yuktahara viharasya yuktacheshtasya karmasu yuktasvapnava bodhasya yogo bhavati dukkha. He who is temperate in his habits of eating, sleeping, working, and recreation can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. That's all. Hare Krishna. Any thoughts or questions? Devin, are you available to share anything? If not, no problem. We'll end there. Not sure if you're there. Anyway, you guys, thanks for listening. Whoever's here, if you might catch this recording, I appreciate your time. And I'm going to close this class. Okay. Hare Krishna, Bhagavad-Gita, Ki Jai. Haribol. Hare Krishna, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Jai. Haribol.